It's your girl, your host, Jocelyn, y como siempre, I am so grateful you are here, and I am so grateful you are tuning into this conversation because we are about to talk to an incredible person whose name is Nguyen. And as I was trying to craft this bio, I was like, where do I start? What do I say? Because this is an incredibly successful, accomplished serial entrepreneur who has created an impact in various industries. Andy started as a real estate appraiser in 2003. Then he went on to make his own clothing brand in 2007. It was called Imaginary King, which became I'm King. And then he ventured into the restaurant industry in around 2014 and has co-founded restaurants such as After's Ice Cream, Dough and Arrow, Matte Black Coffee, Trill Burgers, and has recently entered the Web3 NFT space where he has co-founded Bored and Hungry and the Food Fighters universe. Andy, welcome to the podcast. I am so grateful that you're here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the intro as well.
So we always start these conversations with gratitude. So I'm going to have you share with us what it is that you currently feel grateful for.
Yeah, what I wrote down a few days ago was I am grateful to have a loving, supportive family, to be a husband, father, son, and friend, and that I am blessed to do what I love every single day.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for writing that down. I really appreciate it. Before we blast into your past, I'm curious to ask you, how would you describe this season of your life that you're currently in?
The season in my life is very high intensity, very fast paced, but moving in the right direction. A lot going on as I'm running a lot of new opportunities with current things going on, and as well as being a dad.
Beautiful. And how about the season that you just transitioned out of? How would you describe that season?
The season that I transitioned out of was like late last year, was just a roller coaster, not knowing where things were headed, nervous for what I was dealing with the current state of the pandemic where we're at. And fortunately, things shifted immediately into that new season, and it's been a lot of uphill from there.
Yeah, I'm glad that you are experiencing a season of greater clarity and feeling good about the direction you're headed in. I can imagine you being, in the restaurant industry, that the past couple of years have been quite challenging. So I'm proud of you for hanging in there and continuing to invest in yourself and in your ideas and in all that you're working on. So on your Instagram, you have a highlight that says "My Story." And I really appreciate, by the way, your storytelling on your Instagram, like your captions and your highlights. It's very informative, and you can tell that you are someone who likes to share their story with the intention to be resourceful and motivating to others, encouraging to others to pursue their dreams. So I really appreciate that about you. But I want to start somewhat in the beginning of your story, somewhere where I feel it is integral to who you are today. You mentioned that the more that you tried to fit in, the more trouble you got into in school. And you got in so much trouble to the point where you got kicked out in your sophomore year of high school. And then you came back motivated. You were motivated to go back to school, but you came back with a different mindset to be yourself and to stop worrying what others thought of you. And I feel like there's so much here because I feel like I truly believe that being your true self is like key to life and key to creating the life of your dreams and being in alignment with what's meant for you. And I feel like you coming back to school with that shift in your mindset of, I'm just going to be my true self. And I'm going to stop worrying what others think of me. I feel like that switch has been something that has not only benefited you at that point in your life, but throughout the rest of your journey.
Of course, it's definitely a very pivotal moment as a young teenager, you go through so many different emotions of trying to discover yourself and understanding what's going on in that moment and being pulled and led into a lot of different directions. And I just happened to live in my own pandemic at the time, right? I was kicked out of school. I was home pretty much every day by myself, and I had a lot of time to think, and lots of different thoughts in my head of like, hey, what do I do next? Or do I continue this? And, once I really buckled down and focus and have some clarity on myself and my future, I think that's when, my mind totally shifted and it's carried me to where I'm at now.
Yeah. And, you mentioning that the more you try to fit in, the more trouble you got into, I feel like there's a depth to that because not only does that apply in school, but in life in general, the more that we try to be someone that we're not, or the more that we try to fit in, the more like we find ourselves in situations where it's like, man, I should have just been myself. I should have just listened to my gut, So I felt like it was important to bring this up because I feel like you, again, shifting this mindset really contributed to this successful journey that you've had. And another point from that is you allowing yourself to change your mind, right? You decided to be different. And by different is like you actually being yourself and you allowed yourself to change your mindset. Have you found yourself, well, actually, I'm sure you have found yourself needing to change your mind often in this journey.
I think a lot of us now, I think these days I look things at a long-term scope. I try not to make rash decisions. Try to take my time thinking things through to make sure it all makes sense. I think the impulsiveness when I was younger was, just, hey, I just want to either fit in or I just want to get through with it. And the results are always, turns out the same, where completely opposite of what I imagined in my head. So um, just understanding that I'm in a unique opportunity, and as long as I continue to look at everything at the right path in the long term, like, hey, this is, as long as I'm treating people with kindness, like working hard, um, helping others, I think those things will always lead me to the right path.
Yeah. And, in regards to like changing your mind, is that something do you feel is like a big part of the entrepreneurial journey of like allowing yourself to pivot?
Definitely changing my mind. It happens a lot, right? Because a lot of things, the world's shifting, just like a pandemic happens, and you have to change your mind. You can't, you're forced to. Thankfully, I've already had that mindset for a long time now, and people go through you go through so many ideas and emotions in your head. Like I was reading before that you get thousands of different thoughts in your head within minutes, right? And I was like, okay, well, now you just got to filter through all that and stick to your path. And I think, yes, I do change my mind on a lot of things, but in the long term, the goal is always still the same.
I love that. I love that you clarified that and distinguished that because I feel like, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I feel like it's important for people to know that it's okay to change your mind. And sometimes it's really important that you allow yourself to change your mind. But that doesn't mean that, where you're headed or the destination of where you were intending to go towards needs to change. Just the process itself sometimes ends up being different than what you imagined. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
And I think if I stuck to my original goals, I wouldn't be where I'm at, right? I'm in a completely different field that I would have never imagined 10, 20 years ago.
In your first two business ventures, for your real estate appraising and your clothing brand, I noticed that, for both of them, you had two people in your life close to you who kind of encouraged you to kind of follow that entrepreneurial direction. So, your best friend Polo convinced you to start a company together, appraising homes. And then you had your other friend who had his own clothing brand, which inspired you to create your own clothing brand. And that just made me think of like how important it is that we be mindful of who it is that we're surrounded by. Because here you had two people in your life who were believing in themselves and, creating these ideas, and it ultimately inspired you to go on this path. How has, the people that you've been surrounded by been important for you and where you're at now?
Yeah, no, I think it's thankfully those two guys are still key people in my life. My partner Polo is still my business partner today. We're almost our 20-year mark of entrepreneurship and being friends for I think probably almost 30 years now as friends. And same with my buddy Michael, who started his clothing brand. He taught me a lot about storytelling and working with a team, and you're not, people aren't working for you, they're working with you. And a lot of those things I still carry with me till this day. And I'm very blessed that, even with Polo, like I'm able to lean on him on things, and the same thing, he's able to lean on me on certain things. Like, we are complete opposite people, but we just gel really well when we work together.
You and Polo having been friends for decades and business partners for so long, I feel like that's such a blessing in and of itself because, business partners may grow apart or they may find themselves not being compatible anymore after some years. What is it about you and Polo that, just works, that you've been able to like stand beside each other this whole time?
Well, everyone gets to see me on social media. I'm like the face of everything, and I do the storytelling, and then I do all the interviews. Um, but he does all, he deserves just as recognition as me. He just doesn't like the light. He doesn't like to be in the limelight. He doesn't like the attention. He loves just being in the background, working on, getting our stores designed, finished, production. He's great. He's an amazing working with numbers and dealing with the legal side of things. And those are things not my personal favorites. So I let him take care of a lot of that.
Yeah, whenever I like ask people this question about like their business partnerships, it's always that. It's always like my business partner is really great at these certain things and really enjoys these certain things that I personally am not as strong at, and I'm really good at these things that they're not as strong at. So it's like that harmony that you both create together to be able to build these businesses. I'm curious if, as I continue to look into your story in that highlight, if you launching or attempting to launch your own vodka company is or was your biggest quote unquote failure. Because I don't personally fully believe in failure, but creating a vodka company, I feel like is, I can't even imagine what that was like.
I don't think that was the biggest failure. It was just an interesting point in our life, right? Like, I'm not that much of a drinker, but I'm here, I'm in this position trying to learn about this industry, being brought on with someone who told us they understood the industry, our third partner that we had on at the time. It was a very expensive lesson, at that time period in our lives. And, in the moment when we were building it, we thought we were onto something, unique and special. But that also, that also helped us in that time period of like, hey, we don't always have to be stuck to one thing. We don't have to just do clothing or this. We can, we can put ourselves out there and try different things and learn different industries. And, if it works out, great. If not, at least we tried, and we didn't let these ideas linger in our head.
At this point, you had, created a business in real estate, and then you created your own retail company, your own brand. And I feel like, from what I'm perceiving from your story and what you've shared is that switch over from real estate to creating your own brand was you switching from doing something that you feel may be lucrative or maybe like, beneficial financially to something that you actually enjoy more and are more passionate about. What did you notice in that like switch with yourself in creating something that, you didn't enjoy as much to something that you're actually passionate about?
Well, when I first did the real estate thing with Polo, that was that was a way for me to, get my parents off my back about school. That was a way for me to work with my friends, right? I was like, well, and and Polo selling me on this dream of being able to start our own company, which I thought was crazy at the time. I thought it was like impossible. I was like, let's just try this out. I don't think it can be done, but let's do it. But yeah, of course, in real estate, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no passion for it, and as soon as I saw the opportunity in the apparel industry, I really didn't know it was going to be lucrative or not. Right? I just knew that while I was helping Michael with his clothing brand, I knew it was a lot more enjoyable just watching what he was doing, and he wasn't making any money doing it at that time. I just knew like this is something that's more fits within my lifestyle and what I can see myself doing for a very long time.
Would you say that, pursuing what you're actually passionate about and what you enjoy is something that is key to actually creating a successful business?
I think so, George. Just being successful in general, right? Because you're not just financially better, mentally you're in a happier place because you're doing what you actually enjoy doing, right? And if you're doing things for money over time, you're like it's a lot of these guys I know that have money but they don't enjoy what they're doing. They're asking me questions all day. I was like, wait, you have a lot more money than me, but you're not happy. Like what's going on? He's like, well, I happen to make money, but I'm on this every day just feels like the same. And for myself, I guess they see me like, hey, you're doing cool things. You're doing things that are you're turning your hobbies into your careers, and what you're doing is not really work, right? They're sitting behind their desk wishing they could go home right now or go on vacation. While myself, what I'm working on are things that ideas that I dream about, and I'm working with people that I really admire or looked up to over the years, and now they become business partners or friends. And I guess that it's different when you're not working for money.
And would you say though that like, when you're doing things out of the love for it and out of the passion for it, that path takes longer than pursuing something that may be more lucrative or like, trendy at the time?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are always trying to look for that get rich quick schemes, and some very few people it actually works out for. Majority of them doesn't. Yeah, the road is long. I'm in almost at my 20-year mark, right? And I'm still here. I'm living pretty well, but if I could I have made more money doing other things, possibly. But would I be happier? Probably not.
Risks and sacrifices are inevitable and inescapable in your path when you are, creating something out of nothing, when you are entrepreneurial, when you are, creating your own path. You mentioned that, trying to start your own vodka company wasn't your biggest quote unquote failure. If you're open, what would you say that, was your biggest quote unquote failure?
What's a big failure? The restaurant concept that we built, we spent over $1 million trying to build this concept out. And at the end of it, we never opened. We never opened. We sold it for a big loss. And I think that was one of the toughest ones to swallow in terms of financial side. Um, but I guess the upside when I look at it was it got me out of a project with people that I didn't align. We didn't align in terms of vision on how to be successful or build a strong brand. And this was coming off the heels of launching, After's Ice Cream, which was super crazy at the time. And in terms of like financial failure, that's probably one of the worst. But in terms of like lessons, like I probably shouldn't have been in that project in the first place. And I'm glad that was like a window for myself to get out.
What about that project, made it not work out? Like moving forward from that project, what did you take away of like, okay, now I'm going to look out for these signs to make sure that I'm not in this position again?
I think we had a lot of clashes with everyone. There's a lot of chefs in the kitchen where we had one partner who was stealing money, on this during this construction bill. And we're like, I don't think it costs us much to build this. And we have other partners who felt they needed control creatively. And for myself, I was like, okay, well, if I don't have a voice in this project, like it doesn't feel like an extension of me. And I only want to be a part of brands that are extension of me, right? Like this, I'm giving it out to the world, and I want to provide the best experience possible. And if I can't do that, then I'd rather not be a part of it. I'd rather not attach my name to it.
I feel like this kind of touches back on, being mindful of who it is that you're surrounded by and like how important that is. What qualities do you look out for in teammates, in potential business partners? Yeah, what is it that you look out for in them where you're like, okay, these are the qualities that I desire for them to have in order for us to come together and create something?
I think I look for transparency. I look for someone who's willing to go above and beyond, right? Besides just doing what they're good at. Like if you're someone new to the circle and you're not giving the extra, you're not giving extra to make sure it works, right? There's like the little things that you can see in people, like, hey, they're willing to go out of their way to do things even though they don't like it, just to prove to you that they belong a part of this project. And respect, I think respect is another thing amongst business partners that I look upon. Open-mindedness, a lot of things that happen, going through a pandemic. If you're not willing to change things up, that could be detrimental to the business. And I think at the end of the day, people that I work with, everyone understands the goal is to make sure the business is top priority and that it lives even beyond us, right? That's the goal. Like if I'm not here, the business will still run without us. And as long as we take care of it, they'll take care of us.
Yeah, there is this post that you made. I forgot exactly what, word by word what you mentioned, but what I took from it was that, you were sharing how you've had all these interests and all these ideas to, pursue these concepts in different industries. And before you got into these industries, you really didn't know that much about them. I feel like some people may stop themselves from pursuing something they want to do because they feel like they don't know enough. What is it that you would say you need to just get started on an idea or something that you're curious about pursuing?
If if I have an idea brewing through my head and I can't stop thinking about it, if I'm up all night, like going through how to bring it to life, and that's when and if I can get everyone around me excited, that's when we just go. Like, that's how we've worked. And usually those concepts are the one that has the most success within our projects, is the ones that, even though it might sound nearly impossible or ridiculous, as long as we were all fired up about it, we always figured out a way to make it work. And, in a lot of these ideas, when we initially have them, come out completely different at the end, at the end of it. For the most part, a lot better. But, there's a lot that goes into it. But I think, we've always been the guys that are like, hey, let's just run first, and we'll figure out things later, and we'll just pick up along the pieces along the way. Because if we don't capture the fire now, we're going to be onto something else and might lose that fire right now.
Yeah. And is that also how you distinguish like which idea to pursue? Because you strike me as someone who has like so many ideas. And I know there are people out there who feel the same, like, I have so many ideas, but I don't even know which one to pursue or which one's worth going after.
Yeah, the one I think it's just like I'm like this, very emotion in terms of like which projects I prioritize and focus on. It's definitely very emotion based, right? I was like, hey, I'm so excited about this. I need to get this idea out right now. I can't stop. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to give up the next few months of sleep in order to put this out to the world. And that's a lot of times how we pursue our projects. And, we go through a lot of hiccups along the way because of it. My friends, along the way, we were building something else, and I stopped everyone. I was like, stop. I got this other idea. This is going to be better. Let's just try this out, give it a chance. And everyone freaks out. But at the end of the day, giving my high fives and thanking me later on at the end of it. So I was like, okay, I made the right decision.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I'm sure too that, like, with experience, you've gotten more comfortable with trusting yourself on, like, these sudden changes or these risks or sacrifices. I'm sure that it's been like a muscle that you've strengthened over time.
Of course, the confidence level definitely, the more each project becomes successful, it definitely gives me the confidence on like, okay, we definitely need to do this. We're not, I'm not going to second guess myself. And of course, early on when I was younger, I was definitely second guessing myself a lot of times. And every time I did, I missed out on certain opportunities. So these days I'm like, no more. I need that gut instinct knows what it's talking about. It understands it. It feels it. You need to follow it.
Yeah. And, you mentioned earlier when we talked about your quote unquote biggest failure that it was after the massive success that you had with After's ice cream. So it kind of seems like you experience like one end of the stick to the completely other end, where it's like you experience massive success and then you had this like really big failure. How was you experiencing those two contrasts for you? Like, coming out of Afters and having that success where you like, oh, like I experienced this great success. I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of success with this next one. Like, were you kind of moving with that confidence of the first one, and did it break you down when it didn't go as planned?
Absolutely, 100%, exactly what you're talking about right now. Because at that time period was when that was the first time in my life when I started doing multiple projects instead of just doing one thing. When I did real estate, I did just that. When I did clothing, I kind of did both, but I adjusted more. I'm leaning more into that. Same with the clothing going into After's ice cream. But these projects after that were going simultaneously now, and we're going off of a project that was, After's ice cream was completely revolutionizing the food business at the time period. Um, and we're like, okay, we caught lightning in a bottle. I think we can do this again. We have, everyone's eyes on us. We have to do it right now. And after that, the first few concepts that we did, didn't pan out so well. Based off of a lot of different factors of, like I mentioned earlier, too many chiefs in the kitchen, not having creative control. And after those three, I was like, maybe I don't have it. Maybe I need to slow down a bit and really listen to my gut feeling and take more control and take more of a lead and be very aware that my name is on a lot of these projects. And if I'm putting my name on this, I need to make sure that I'm 100% happy with it.
Is slowing down that advice that you would give someone who is experiencing a lot of momentum? Like, I don't know if you experience momentum like that again with another concept after that and you approached it differently.
Of course, absolutely. I don't know. Okay, like when I mentioned slowing down, maybe it's like taking maybe a day to escape everything and really listen to yourself, right? Like I do, for the most part, I do meditation daily, and that gives me a chance to block everything out and not worry about work for a second, and really clean out all that toxic energy or toxic thoughts, and then find that real clarity and find what or realign myself back to my vision of, this is why I'm doing it for, this is what I'm doing, this is what I need to do to in order to reach this. And once I get that all together, then I'm like, hey, now I know exactly what to do. I got a second to breathe. And I think those deep breaths are very important, especially as I'm getting older and I'm becoming more self-aware of what's going on. I think that's a important part to where I am today and where I continue going from here.
Yeah, like really making sure that you're grounded in your movements and not doing anything suddenly just out of like the rush of, the success or the momentum you're experiencing, making sure that you're being very mindful with everything. With, speaking on After's ice cream, I believe it was in 2016 where you experienced that like massive success. And it's for those that may not be aware, After's Ice Cream, you know, had their infamous Milky Bun, which is like the ice cream donut. Congratulations, by the way. And you had lines every day. You grew, you know, over 27 locations. And I'm just curious to ask you, you know, how did you manage to keep up with like that sudden growth? Because I'm sure there were some growing pains as well, where you were like, oh my gosh, I have to make all these adjustments.
Yeah, there's a lot of people involved besides myself in that project. So, we were growing so fast and newly working together, right? It's like I tell people, I'm like, it's like I just put out this. I was a new artist. We're a new group together that got put together, and now we just had this hit song, and we're on tour now. Now they're like, hey, figure out how to get along and keep the smile on your face and keep it growing. And it's not easy, because now you're dealing with. I came from clothing to food, which was already a big adjustment. And then, normally people get to start slow and, things open up and slowly customers build. But we had this out the gate, was like, boom, we have lines out the door every single day. It's like, okay, how do we handle this? How do we speed the process? How do we clean things up? And, it definitely wasn't easy. But I think a lot of us at that time period, we were on the same page of what we were willing to do in order to grow, and we grew rapidly. We went from one store the first year to 6 stores the second year, and into our third year, think we got into 14, 15 stores by our third year, and yeah.
Did you bring in like a mentor at any point, or has it like consistently been you and your teams kind of like figuring things out as you go?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a mentor in these projects or someone to like I call all the time to ask questions. I've always picked apart a lot of qualities and uh, philosophies from a lot of different people that I look up to. I was like, I'll ask, and if I really want to know, then I'll reach out and ask questions. I've had a life coach once just for my mental stability balance at the time. But in terms of like business mentorship, like I'm just picking apart from guys that I look up to apart. I was like, hey, he looks like he does a great job of operating his company. He looks like he builds great brand culture. She looks like she knows how to get everyone's energy going. So I'm picking things apart from everyone that I'm looking up to.
Let's take a moment to talk about our partner, Athletic Greens, who has a product called AG1 that I have been taking every single day for the past month and have been loving so much because I have been wanting to implement vitamins and supplements into my life for such a long time, but I didn't know where to start. And literally with just one scoop of AG1, you are absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, probiotics, and adaptogens that help you start your day right. And it's just felt so good to take AG1 when I get home from the gym and have that replenishment and know that I am continuing my day with a body full of nutritional goodness and greatness. And what I love about this product by Athletic Greens is that it's lifestyle friendly. So whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, it's friendly for you, and it contains less than 1 gram of sugar. It has no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, or artificial anything, while still tasting good. Like, seriously, y'all, I'm not just saying that. AG1 actually tastes really, really good. And it supports better sleep quality and recovery. Like I said, having that replenishment when I get home from the gym has been so great. And it also supports mental clarity and alertness. And also, it's like just one scoop a day. It's one thing with the best of things. And Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third party testing. So they're always making sure that they are up to date with the best of the best and making sure that they're offering a product that is really offering just the best quality of vitamins and minerals and nutrients for our body. And it costs you less than $3 a day. It's such a great investment. And right now, it's time to reclaim your health community and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just, again, one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/SWG. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/SWG to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. I have put the link in the description below. Now, let's continue this awesome, inspiring conversation with Andy. You stepped away from After's Ice Cream. How was letting that go for you? Because I feel like, building something that just was incredibly successful and I'm sure it was just like very dear to your heart. Like, did you find it hard to step away? Was it like a process? Did it take you some time to like finally like let it go? How was that for you?
It's been so, it's like, the brand is reaching its 9-year mark, right? And when I think about it, a lot of times, like, it feels like yesterday, I was in the mix, right? I was in there scooping ice cream, putting everyone's staff schedule together, talking, trying to hype everyone up. And I also know that in this time period, I've also had so many different ideas and I've grown so much since that, it's 9-10 years is a long time for it to be in a brand. Now, that was probably the longest project I've been a part of ever in my life. So I think the only part I was nervous about was to talk about it to the public that I was exiting. That's an interesting thing because everyone connects me so much to that brand. Uh, but I'm happy that I did because now I felt like, okay, that's one thing off my off my back, and I hope the brand continues to grow because that's a part of my legacy. But I've always feel like I have so much more to offer to these next generations of projects that I'm working on and people that I'm working with along the way. And I think these new brands or these new partners and projects I'm working with, they deserve my attention right now.
How did you know it was time to let go? And I'm asking this with the intention for others who may be questioning, like, when is it time to let go of something that I'm working on or something that I've created? And it sounds like your intention of letting this go was to create more space for further growth and expansion for yourself.
Yeah, I think my partners and I were all in completely different places now. We've grown 9 years, and we all saw, we're all working on all of us were working on different things. And I think it was a long time coming. Honestly, I probably should have left. I probably should have exited years before that. Um, just having it on my back and the pressure, continue to figure out how to grow and work with a number of different people. It's not very easy, and my mindset was already a lot different, and my vision on how I wanted to align myself with brands was changing as well. That brand's at 27 stores, becoming more corporate, and more of the like free flowing. We got to keep brand culture and everyone like together and storytelling, and it changes when you have a lot of new voices coming in. So um, I just felt like my other partners deserve these new partners and new projects deserve opportunity. And since I have a voice on the platform, I need to give it to them, and I need to get away from the projects that are holding me back.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it crazy how like you can create something and it just grows so big to the point where you're like, oh man, it's holding me back now. I need to let it go and move on. It's a beautiful thing though. It's a beautiful thing to be able to experience so much growth in something that you've created. So after over like 20 concepts that you've developed over the past 8 years in over 60 locations worldwide, what has been one of your favorite lessons that you've learned in that journey?
Favorite lessons that I've learned is that I don't ever have to be stuck to one thing, and it's okay if my dreams and goals continue to evolve because along the way of this journey, how I pictured my life is completely different than what I imagined myself 20 years ago, right? I was like, hey, I'm gonna be doing this, or I'm gonna be retired at this age, or I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be the big fashion designer, but now I'm not even in fashion anymore. But I still, but I'm able to still help my friends that are launching brands or in fashion. And as a kid, as I think at 18 years old, 19 years old, I thought I was going to work in the music industry, right? And I'm completely far from that, but I'm still working with my partners are, Houston rapper legend Bun B, Snoop Dogg, like these, I get to work with these artists that I looked up to anyways, and that I wanted to work with, but I just happened to be working with them in a different capacity. And their respect level to me is also insane, right? Because they look up to me, they're like, you're big in your own right. I was like, I guess. I was like, I don't have millions of people chasing me, but he goes, but you're revolutionizing food just as they did in music. And I was like, I guess you can say that. And it's funny to watch and see the dynamic of things and how things turned out.
Yeah, and I think that's important to acknowledge too that like, not be so fixated on how your life will pan out or how it will unfold because you could have been so fixated like when you were younger, no, I have to work in the music industry. I really want to meet these artists, but you allowed yourself to evolve in ways that you didn't even imagine. And here you are like aligning with these artists and it was, it all ends up in ways that you can't imagine at first, but that flexibility is important. And I noticed too, like as you were speaking right now, earlier you mentioned that, when you walked away from After's Ice Cream, what you were least looking forward to is like announcing it to the world. And, as you were talking about you really loving how you've allowed yourself to evolve and try new things that you didn't even think you would try and get into industries you didn't think you'd end up in. It's been you allowing yourself to change and your concept of yourself to change. And it goes back to the beginning of our conversation where you had that mindset shift of like, I'm going to be my true self and I'm going to let go of what everyone else thinks. And I feel like this all kind of ties together of like, you ultimately doing what you personally feel called to do and letting go of what other people think and allowing yourself to change. And sometimes that can be hard because you'll have these concepts of yourself or you'll be so tied to a certain identity of yourself. Um, do you find it easier for yourself now to like expand your identity or like to evolve into a new you?
Yeah, I think that different moments and times at different places in time that, you still have that kid. I still have that kid inside me where, I'm like, what are they going to think if I do this or say this, or when is the right time to announce this or do that? But I think I've been able to put my brand out there in a certain way where it makes sense and it works out for me. Like I don't, if you see, if you, I think people have caught on, right? Because I tell them, I was like, hey, there's a lot of stories, a lot of my, there's a lot of moments in my life where I'm in a dark place, or things are tough, or I'm dealing with so many different things. And eventually I do share it. I just wait a long period of time. And the reason why is because I always want to use my platform as posit as up, like something to look up to, look up for, right? Look down the road for. And I want to wait until I break through these moments. And once I break through and I'm ready, then I'm ready to share, like, hey, this is what I went through 3 or 4 years ago. Like, I didn't talk about it in that time period. But look at where it's taking me in those 3 or 4 years, like how it's completely transformed, and I'm in a much better place than I was in that time period. So yeah, I do share a lot of my lessons, and sometimes I hold a lot of those stories for years, and I have it written down. I have some things written down now for probably that I won't share for another 5 6 years that I want to hang on to, and I think it'll be, time then.
Yeah, I love that you do that because I think sometimes when we share things prematurely too, it doesn't allow us to fully process the experience. And so I really like that you make it a point to sit with yourself and like really integrate the experience before you like share it with the world.
I think I'm able to navigate a lot of that because I've had a lot of different experiences and I've been through a lot. I know some for some people they need to express it early or they need someone to talk to, right? I'm thankfully that I can hold it in and I'm able to fight through it and understand, like, hey, there is a light at the end of this tunnel. Like, I've been through this multiple times before. For some people it's their first time going through it, and hopefully they can use my lessons as a way, like, hey, like, I'm at my 20-year mark and I still go through a lot of issues and I still go through a lot of different things. Um, but I'm still doing what at the same time I'm still doing what I love, and it's evolved into something much greater than I ever thought.
Something that I feel called to share right now that's been on my mind is like, you know, a lot of people really want to create one of their ideas, but they just haven't started. Like they're just afraid to start. And something that I'm sharing this from my own experience that I've noticed is like once you allow yourself, like you gift yourself the opportunity to pursue one big idea, like just start it, just do it and see what happens. Like after you do that one big idea, you'll feel more comfortable to go after more ideas. Like pursuing your ideas just becomes easier in a way, and you let go of that like blockage, that barrier between you and just getting an idea started.
Of course, and when you put it out to the world, you never know what's going to come back to you from it. And I tell a lot of people, like, don't leave those ideas in your head because time flies so quickly, and 10 years later, someone's gonna do it, and you'll be like, "I already had that idea 10 years ago." I always say, "Hey, yeah, they're the ones that brought it to action. That's why they're at where they're at. You just kept it in your mind." And everyone has thousands of ideas every single day. It's just the ones that are willing to participate and take action on it.
This last leg of this conversation, I kind of want to pivot into a bit more of like personal Andy. You know, this path of yours takes a lot of faith in self. And I'm curious to ask you if you have faith in like a higher power, if you consider yourself spiritual.
Yeah, you know, I grew up. My parents are Buddhists. So naturally, I'm a Buddhist from that. But growing up as a kid, my parents actually they let me go to Bible study. I went to a Christian Bible study for a good number of years every single Friday as a kid, not knowing I was going to that. And I was learning about a lot of different things about, you know, God. At the same time, at home, my parents are trying to guide me on Buddhism, technically parts of it. And I these days, how I put, I guess, for myself is I know there's an energy out there. There's an energy out there that's been pushing me to go this route, right? That's putting me through all these life experiences that I needed to go through, because I think without these experiences, I would not have appreciated or been grateful or show gratitude to where I'm at now. I think those are very important lessons that I think a lot of people need to go through, and I don't think it should be an easy journey for a lot of people because yeah, you won't understand how the true meaning of why you're here in the first place unless you go through all these challenges and journeys and roller coasters that are needed to be placed.
Yeah, yeah. So you perceive struggles and obstacles and challenges as valuable, and you seek out the lessons within those, and believe them to be meant to be and put forth on your path to learn something that's meant to assist you in what you're headed towards. And earlier you mentioned that you meditate. Are there other spiritual practices that you integrate into your day to day that help you in being grounded?
Yeah, I do. I make sure I still journal to this day. I read. I read on my free time. I make sure to have time for myself to go explore and be curious and learn about different things to keep to get myself out of things and then shake things up a bit. And I try to keep things fresh and put myself in new experiences that I've never been in before, just so it opens my mind up a bit more. I'm always trying a lot of different things that that I see from other people. Trying to brush my teeth with my other hand, my opposite hand, or a lot of different things that I'm always playing around with to hopefully enhance and elevate myself.
Yeah, I love that. So the last thing that I want to touch on, I feel, is a big part of your life that changed you, which is fatherhood. How has becoming a father changed you as a person, as a businessman?
Yeah, I have two girls, so it's definitely softened me up a lot more. Having kids definitely transformed me because even just being married to my wife, I was still going at 110. I was going at 110 all the time with all my work and projects and never stopping and traveling. It's living on an airplane. These days is a lot. I'm more aware of it, right? So I have a lot more tighter time blocks, and certain times I won't pick up calls. There's like from 5 to 9 p.m. while I'm with my kids. Don't even call me because I'm not going to jump in the meeting, or even if it's an emergency, you guys got to figure it out. I'm sorry. Um, Even the way I travel now is completely different. Before when I was traveled, I'd be gone for as long as I wanted, right? But now I'm like, I'm gonna leave at 7 a.m. I'm gonna land back home at 7 p.m. so I can go put the kids to bed. Uh, a lot of different things that has changed me that I still want to be a part of their lives. And I know, everyone's like, hey, if you did more, you could make more money. I was like, I have two kids. I'm already making more money than I ever did before, anyways. And I think I'm making a lot better sound decisions, anyways, with my kids. And I don't want to miss out on a lot of their big moments in their life because I'm not going to get to relive that. My work will always be here. I've already did a big part of my life for 20 years of that. My kids are, right now they love me. They want to be around me. They want to hold my hand. Eventually, they're not going to want to do that. So I'm going to take advantage of it while I can with them.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. In all your success that you've experienced, what's the one takeaway that you want your children to have when they see you and all that you've accomplished? Like, what do you hope is their takeaway from everything you've done?
I hope they take away that they will be going through times that aren't easy and tough. But if they're able to look at my blueprint or the path that I developed for them, that there's always light at the end of this tunnel. Um, that they have a lot of great people in their life, uh, besides just myself and my wife. That we know we're surrounded by amazing people, and that were setting themselves up to do whatever they want to do and pursue in life as passion, whether it's education or entrepreneurship or whatever. It's I'm never going to force them into one way or another, and whatever they decide, I will be there to support them and hope they make an impact within the realm that they're in as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And before we get into the final five, which are just five fill in the blank sentences, I want to hold space for you in the case that there's anything you feel called to share or wanted to touch on that we didn't touch on. I want to hold space for that. But if not, it's all good.
I'm ready to jump in. Let's jump in. Let's jump into the five.
Okay. So these are just five fill in the blanks. It could be one word or more than one word. I am grateful to know.
Amazing, beautiful people in this world,
I am grateful to be.
in this position that I'm in.
I am grateful to overcome.
Challenge, beautiful, beautiful, and amazing challenges
I am grateful to learn.
every day.
And I am grateful to receive.
Love.
Hmm. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Andy Nguyen. I really, really appreciate you and your time and your energy. Congratulations on everything that you have created in your lifetime. It truly is so impressive and really inspiring.
Thank you for having me on, and appreciate the amazing energy that you bring, and I wish you the best along your journey as well.
Thank you.